Twerks. Hello people of the internet. Today I have a treat for you because out of all the vehicles I review, the two top comments I see the most are, when are you going to review a Tesla, or why don't you ever review any Audis? And since I own an 83 Quattro and I've had 3 different Audi projects on my channel, it's about time. I finally got one for all of you. Audi sent me a 2022 Q5 Sportback. So today I'm going to get this thing up on the lift. We're going to nerd out on the tech specs, see if this thing is actually true Quattro or not, and then take it for a rip and see what it does. Hey, Audi Sport. Nice. What? There's just a big hole back here. Look up inside here. Looks like a perfect location for some wasps to build a nest and sting the hell out of you when you're trying to open up your hatch. Forget fake tips. They just make it look like it doesn't even have an exhaust. Giant muffler, resonator number 1, resonator number 2. I will give props though on the nice flanges and stainless steel construction. Up above my head is a proper rear differential with a drive shaft on a longitudinally mounted drivetrain configuration, making this technically proper Quattro. It is not Haldex based. However, it has Ultra technology, which means it's capable of disengaging the rear wheels like a Haldex despite being longitudinally mounted, and then it can operate in a front wheel drive mode to save fuel. It's so weird. Unfortunately though, it's hidden under a furry chunk of cardboard to keep things quiet. Out back you have a multi-link rear suspension comprised of 5 links, some of which are steel, some of which are aluminum, and a set of SOX dampers. The rear anti-sway bars measure in at approximately 24 millimeter. You see this little greasy stain right here on the rubberized undercoating? That's because this is both rubber undercoated and has the hot wax injection process to make this corrosion resistant. The Q5 Sportback is built on Volkswagen Auto Group's MLB Evo platform, and it's shared with a bunch of other high-end crossover SUVs that this regular car brunette will probably likely not get a chance to review, from Lamborghini, Porsche, and even Bentley. And this one in particular weighs in at 4,176 pounds, which makes it quite a bit heavier than the similar sized Forester XT that I have parked outside. The transmission in this Q5 Sportback is the DL382-7 Alpha, which is a 7-speed wet dual clutch gearbox that is rated for a maximum torque input of 400 Newton meters or 295 pound-feet, which doesn't give you much wiggle room on the stock tune. However, these 7-speed dual clutches are upgradable to handle a lot more pound-feet of torque, which is something I can't say about the CVT and Forrester Gump outside. I'm sorry, I'm a little salty. Look at this crazy little robotic cow stomach lining controller pack on the side of what I'm guessing is the disconnect for the Ultra system, where it can decouple the drive shaft. It's quite the heatsink though. It's a fairly robust transmission crossmember made out of aluminum. Got some triple squares up there. And you drop all these little panels down, it actually gives you quite a bit of room to access and maintain the driveline on this Audi, which is a nice treat. Up front is where things get kind of interesting on this Q5. It has a multi-link front suspension, all of which is comprised out of aluminum. That's quite the rugged end link right there on the anti-sway bar. And give this a measure real quick. 31 millimeter front anti-sway bar. Looks like that subframe is also made out of aluminum too. Whoa! This thing's got a fade. The under shield under the engine has a haircut. The hairy nonsense in the front fades nicely to just raw plastic back here. Stylish. All right, it's time for the braking test. No one behind me? Ready? Ooh, there goes all my stuff. Wow, that's aggressive ABS. Good. Good. threw my shit everywhere. That braking was just accomplished thanks to these massive bad chickens. They're a set of 4-piston front calipers, which don't have any powder coating or paint finish on them. They're just left raw. I guess some people like it raw, though. That's okay. It's very low-key looking. And they bite down on a set of 13.3 inch or 338 millimeter front rotors. And these guys right here, that's plastic. It's got plastic inlays. Weird. Those are a set of 21 by 8.5 with a plus 34 millimeter offset Audi sport wheels with plastic inlays. And they're wrapped in a rather wide set of 255/40 21-inch Continental Sport Contact 6 tires. It's gonna bother me that the center cap isn't lined up with the writing on the wheel. There you go. Out back, you have just a little single pot caliper and a 13-inch or 330 millimeter rotor. Wheel and tire wise, everything is the same as up front. In the name of science, I am now gonna give this thing the beans. Bolstering check. It's not bad. Doesn't have ventilated seats though, so there's a little bit of a puddle of ass sweat. I can turn on the heat and turn that into some ramen. Has a heated steering wheel too. As far as drive modes go, I have a selector button down here, and you can go from individual, dynamic, auto, comfort, and off-road. I'm gonna put it in dynamic, and I'm gonna take my drive selector and go from D, pull it down again, and then put it into S for sport. Ready? Go. Ooh. Go, launch control. Yeah. I love the aggressiveness of those shifts. That's good. Not bad. I love that it has launch control. That's just epic. Hood pop. Hood pop. Hood struts. And it's all painted under here. Under the hood of the 80A generation Q5 Sportback is Audi's 2.0 TFSI, which is a iron block aluminum head, 2-liter turbocharged direct injected dual overhead cam 4-cylinder that produces 261 horsepower at 5,250 to 6,500 RPM and 273 pound-feet of torque from 1,600 all the way up to 4,500 RPM. That's got some really nice flat spots in the power band, just meat everywhere. Oh, this is rubber. I thought this was plastic. I'll take this off, take a look underneath. Squishy. It's a squishy engine cover. Oh wow, there is an ample amount of room to work in this engine bay. This is great. The head is cast at a little bit of an angle, kind of like what BMW does. Man, tons of room in here though. It's incredible. Plastic intake manifold. There's the mild hybrid 12-volt system right there. This little cover is interesting. It's like the color of earwax. Gross. Now, as many of you already know, there is an S version of this, the SQ5, that has a much more powerful turbocharged 3-liter V6 in it. And I'm not going to complain though. I'm just thankful I got a chance to review a new Audi product because I am a fan of Audis. And I'm pleased to see this doesn't look like an absolute shit show underneath the hood as far as maintenance goes. My TT was a nightmare. This doesn't look too bad. This is kind of along the lines of my Quattro. It's just a simple longitudinal layout. One of the benefits of this EA888 being around for so long now is there's countless different versions of it. This one being the 3rd generation of the longitudinal configuration, which means there's a lot of support for this engine in the aftermarket community for tuning it. So if modifying crossovers is your thing, I don't think you can really go wrong between the Q5 and the SQ5 because both drivetrains have upgradability potential. All right, let's take this thing for a rep. Since this Q5 has the optional 21-inch wheels, it would be ridiculous of me to film an off-road review today. So I'm on a dirt road, and I'm going to put this thing into off-road mode. It does have a hill descent control. That's kind of cool. I don't think I'm gonna be able to use that today though. It won't let you put it in sport mode when you're in off-road mode. Okay. Torques. You can use manual mode off-road though. That's cool. Man, this thing is super quiet on the inside, even on a dirt road. I mean, there's tons of foam cardboard nonsense under this thing, which limits its off-road capability, but definitely makes it nice and quiet in here. Okay, there's a little bit of road noise right there over a really bad washboard. And yeet! Good grip! Even with these silly road tires that are totally not meant for off-roading, it still put the power down. Okay, that's enough off-roading. At lower speeds, like around town driving, I guess you could say, one thing I did notice instantly about this is it's got a very light, airy feel to driving it, especially because the steering wheel, it's such an open wheel. The center where the airbag is at is so tiny. I really like the look of the screen for the infotainment system and just the way the menu looks, the graphics that they use, like this one for vehicle. It's very clean and just sophisticated feeling in here. It does not feel like this is gonna age and look tacky. They did a great job at styling the inside. It's got this braille-like aluminium finish. It's actually kind of nice. I like running my fingers across it. It's got the little classic Quattro badge right there on the dash. Audi's navigation is my favorite out of any manufacturer. The fact that they offer Google Earth satellite view in your gauge cluster, so it actually looks like the map. Now you have to pay an extra subscription service if you want to see the terrain view that has like the buildings and the trees and stuff. Right now it's just showing a really clean and crisp map view on my gauge cluster, and I love it. I haven't found anyone else that can do it as well as Audi can in that aspect. I love that the little slidey boy over the cup holders is actually your wireless charge pad. It's an accordion door that also charges your phone. That's so smart. Whoa, this is crazy. These have to be some of the strangest headrests I've ever seen. I love them. It's like a little robot's head almost. There's a button right here you press on the side and it folds back. The engine doesn't have any fake sound generation to it whatsoever. It just sounds like a little EA 888s. Doesn't really sound like anything special like it does in the Golf R, where they actually pipe in sound generation, which doesn't sound bad in the Golf R, as much as I don't like fake sound generation. I find myself having to really be heavy-footed more so than in other vehicles of similar performance to eke out anything out of this. It's not slow, it's just it defaults to not wanting you to drive in a spirited manner, I guess you could say. But when you do send it, it's not bad. You can feel a little bit of the weight when you start picking up speed. This may seem like a bit of an irrelevant comparison, but driving this in contrast to my 2015 Forester XT, which is the same size and honestly I feel would still be an accurate competitor against this, even though Subaru doesn't make a Forester XT anymore. It just feels heavy. You can feel the heft taking it around a corner, a lot heavier than the Forester. I mean, the Forester weighs just under 3,600 pounds and this thing is over 4,000. And you feel it. But I like not having a CVT, so that's a huge plus. That's the one thing that kills Subarus for me, is as good as the CVT is in the other turbo models of Subaru, it's only as good as a CVT can be. It's a good CVT, but that doesn't say much at all. I thought this was kind of cool. Look how the door handle opens. It goes upward. That's weird. If you thought those door handles were weird, check this out. It's got a spare tire for a train or some kind of weird spaceship. That's interesting. Also, when you lock the doors, it makes a cute little chirp like a bird. Looks-wise, this thing just kind of blends in with every other gray blob baby hauler on the road. There's nothing really eye-catching about the exterior design. I do like the fact that it has the Sportback and the taillights are kind of good looking. And there is an optional headlight package that is a must-have, I feel, with buying one of these. Fuel economy-wise, I'm pretty damn pleased, especially considering how quick this is. It's not bad, and I think that's something that Audi Volkswagen in general does better than some of its competitors. Granted, the engine doesn't really have much pizzazz to the sound of it. You can definitely change that with aftermarket exhausts and downpipe. If you've never seen one of my reviews before, I have multiple categories to rate and assess them, starting with the coveted bean score. It is assessment on a 1 to 5 scale based on the feeling you get behind your belly button when you give it the beans. And this Q5 Sportback is getting a rating of 1.9 beans. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Next is the cookie score. That is an assessment on a 1 to 5 cookie scale based on what you get for what you spend. And this one, as is equipped at just under $57,000, is getting a rating of 3.4 cookies. And that's because of the fact that this thing's got some pretty robust components mechanically, especially the 7-speed wet dual clutch gearbox. And on the interior, it's just clean and classy feeling in there. And like there's some actual thought in how this is going to age, styling and tech-wise. Next is the mechanic score, though, is assessment on a 1 to 5 scale based on how much of a fucking shit show something is to work on. 5 being super easy, 1 being a nightmare. And this Audi Q5 Sportback's getting a rating of 3.3 wrenches. Anyone that is an Audi enthusiast, owns an Audi, ever worked on an Audi before, knows that depending on the model, sometimes they can be a lovely treat to work on. But I don't think it's because they're designed poorly. I think it's just you must up your skill level to be able to do it. And I like the challenge, but this one, it doesn't seem too challenging. It's a nice drivetrain configuration in here that's got plenty of room to work on. So good job on that, Audi. Lastly, though, is the Penguin score, is assessment on a 1 to 5 scale based on how much I personally like a vehicle. And the Q5 Sportback is getting a rating of 3.2 penguins. I like it, but I would have the SQ version over the Q version just because it's the higher performance version available. I wouldn't load it up full of options though. And I do appreciate that they offer a Sportback and then the regular body trim configuration, because it's nice to see variations in the shape of a body of a vehicle. I feel like that's something we've lost in the past decade or so. And I want to see more body configurations of vehicles come back like you used to have in the 90s, with like a coupe version, a sedan version, a wagon version, a hatchback. We need more of that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will see you soon with another. Bye.